Hi, this is John Charles. I'm live at Alki right now. I'm real beat up. I'm trying to make it through this situation. It's very serious. I appreciate you listening. Um, it's a very beautiful day. You can see the Olympic Mountains in the background and the Port of Seattle right over here. The Space Needle right in the distance in that corner, little nook. Um, a lot of problems with the banking and the Charles Trust. We've identified many situations going on. Um, I can start with some things that are very interesting. My uncle Ralph definitely linked to the Stitz casino accounts, the one-armed bandits. These were linked to Al Capone as well. They were both in Chicago at the same time. Uh, of course, my uncle Ralph was with the railroads, and they are seeing ownership to Southern Pacific, which is being hidden by Union Pacific right now. We haven't received our accounts, and we have talked to Union Pacific. It is not a joke. This is serious because it involves properties up and down. Down to the Texas to the Gulf, and to shrimp distribution accounts and things like this. Um, we Bubba Gump shrimp, as a matter of fact, is one of them. What the crime that's gone on with my uncle Ralph and what went on down to the Howard Hughes Corporation with our money and Ralph's appearances there and our links to Drake's first drills and Howard Hughes' first drill bits. It links the Drake's to Hughes, which links us to us through the Gilberts, which is something. Gilbert is a boat that is registered in Plymouth, Massachusetts during the time of the Puritans, and this is somebody who is a stepbrother to the Drakes, who is involved with the Amerius, which is a bloodline trade to American Dutch East Indies, which ties us into the Gilberts again, who were map makers with the second Captain Cook voyage, the World Trade Voyage, and also stepbrothers to the Drake's voyages, and actual passenger and possibly involved in the map making for John Cabot's second voyage into Newfoundland, which this link with the old link to the Amerias is through Dutch East India, is through the German line, German Holy Roman Empire German line. We believe was the best to explain it, which would be part of our family's Brunswick, Lüneburg, Braunschweig Royal line through Germany up the Lüneburg line being the most strongly linked to the Dutch East India trade. Now, really quickly, I'm going to explain. Netherlands is very much part of the Lüneburg line. The Lüneburg line is the one that, from Germany that actually linked over into Spain and had relationships with Isabella of Spain and Portugal. This is some of these very difficult for some people to understand, but we're also linked to King John of England, John of Gaunt. Now, John of Gaunt was an uncle, actually, of Queen Isabella of Spain and Portugal. John of Gaunt's daughter was Prince Felipe of Portugal. This is true. And this is all old history. This is why we're linked to the Nina Pinta and Santa Maria and also da Gama and the other explorers of Spain, Christopher Columbus, through these bloodlines that link back through the Lüneburg line, through Germany, the Royal German line of Braunschweig, which makes it very specific. I have problems with the American accounts, so the many loans in America were taken out. When my family moved from Germany down into Devon, England, and became a part of the Gilbert Drake Devonport, and the Drake family is very important to England and our bloodline more strong through the Gilbert until back into America, but related through adoption. Um, uh, Fought many battles for the Queen. And so our royal marks showed even as we left Devon Harbor and came down to America. meaning that when King George fought the Battle of the Revolution, King George was actually a Brunswick as well, and his German blood. He was the first German king of England, and knowing our money was very big. The amount of Dukes of Brunswick were hundreds, and all of them had money. But we were the one royal line that went up to Charlemagne, which means we controlled the church. And the church money and much of the financial for the Brunswick Wolfenbüttel, we're Wolfenbüttel as well, Braunschweig-Lüneburg line. So what has happened is, you have to understand, Ralph was in Chicago with the railroads. When our family came in, we were shippers, and we were into America. We were shippers and we were clergymen, and we were linked to the royal line. And the last name Charles is a very difficult name during the period of the Revolutionary War. So this is not something that was really public, and many people had changed the name from Charles when they came into America. They were shipping. So as shippers, we inherited a lot of land by supplying the British boats when they came in for the war. So we were actually working both sides. Our concern was trade in America. Okay. This is a very interesting story, and it does go into Las Vegas. And you have to understand, the German coalition was very much involved in the Gulf, the port of Mississippi, the port of New York, the port of Virginia. With the German bloodline, we were linked to Bethlehem Steel, to the first automotive with gearing and metal wheels and rail, and these connections and patents that we were linked to are still automotive gearing patents and chain patents, and things that we should be receiving our payments for still. Also, petroleum mixtures with rubber, which were linked to the advancements in cars and aeronautics, and the sheet metal that came out of the forges. The sheet metal is a very important patent for our family, and it is something that holds true, that still runs through. These borings are being steel payments are being stolen. We're linked to mining around the world. Those payments are being stolen. De Beers is one of the mines in South Africa that's being stolen from. Many mines, coal mines and mineral mines out of Australia and South America. Very important to our family, as our families discovered the ports and put us into trusts with those properties. The viewpoint properties, the lighthouse properties, the shoreline properties, and then after that, the rail lines that connected to the ports. So we had easements on a lot of these settlements. These settlements are still held in time, and the mineral rights in most of the mines still hold true. So a lot of these come all the way down through, as I said, through our relative. As we came into the country, a lot of our money moved after the treaties of Westphalia. A lot of the money moved through the Brunswick-Lüneburg line. King George made sure that money was left to us in America, and it was left in the name, and it may sound strange, but in the kingship of the Charles line. So if the war had, the circumstances of the war had been different, the actuality of the trust that is being robbed right now was one that was of a royal nature. So as people died in World War I and II from the Holy Roman Empire, which would be northern France, part of Italy, some Spain, and our marriages to our great-great-great-aunt was Queen of Sweden, our business interests through trade, were and then the investment from those accounts built industry and ferries and different shipping and oil and gas and mining. Those accounts still hold true to our family, and these are protected through what was the Vienna Congress. And the Vienna Congress was very particular about the Brunswick-Lüneburg line because it had mixed with Britain and England, and so to protect the money, so the British didn't stay, it had to be a consulted line that that a married person in couldn't take over the blood or take over the money. So this has protected us as having a direct mail line to right now, still 2020. Many of the accounts left to us were set up for antiquity, all the way back to King Roger of Israel, which was a Christian king of Israel. And this is very ancient, and we had antiquity set up for what I hope to be connected to the Guggenheim. Our roots with the Rockefellers and Guggenheim hold through our blood through the regions that our family came from into America. This money also links down into Kentucky, the Pennsylvania German company, and our family in the Preston, Cambridge, Tri-Cities area had moved down into Kentucky after Prohibition with loans, probably through Ralph, and to go ahead and rebuild liquor in what was called Germantown, which was Shively, Kentucky. It's recorded as Germantown. This money was very important to redistribution of and rebuilding of liquor. We were already involved in the building of the barrels and the shipping and the measurements. And our family has always been involved in that, just like at the weigh stations, at the trucking stations for shipping. See, we went from the railroad to the truck. That's why we're related to the J.B. Hunt family, meaning that J.B. Hunt is far more important to me than Amazon shipping trucks. We're involved in a lot of the construction patents for and wheels and tires for Caterpillar and Komatsu and many different companies. These backhoe accounts were just recently robbed by Sue Burley or Sue Hurley. This money has to be returned. We're also being robbed by a family called Davis. This money has to be returned as well. And many Seattle policemen are involved in this. We have no ties to Seattle policemen at all. They're using the name Ed. In some accounts, Ed is not in the trust. Ed was married to my grandfather after my grandfather William's death. And Ed is a very nice guy, Ed Hawking. But Ed does not have any control over this trust. And he died before my grandmother did. And again, as a Brunswick-Lüneburg, he was not in the actual German bloodline. It's very specific. We also have crimes with Mary Jo Wesley in France right now, trying to take over accounts. She's linked to the University of Washington, the Frye, and the Burke museums. They may have moved some of these antiquities that should have been with the Guggenheim and used our museum fund, which was supposed to be used to build an annex or a separate housing area for the antiquities. These are worth maybe over $1 billion. Also, the Erickson family went in and opened one of the old German Norse funds related to the German blood from not the Braunschweig line, but I believe it is, I'm sorry, Bernard's line. And which are 3 lines of kings in Germany. There are only 3 bloodlines of kings in Germany. And the one that prevailed as wealthiest was the Brunswick-Lüneburg, Braunschweig, Wolfenbüttel lines, which are very, very related to the Reichen lines as well. Not the Third Reich was not blood Adolf, but his money he did use at times were through our family's blood, which made our family very competitive. Queen Victoria sought after us as my father and then as her children, as children, to try to keep the Brunswick-Lüneburg blood in Britain. And we were also pursued by Willy Brandt and other Reichs of Germany chancellors to try to bring back the money together that was mixed. Still, as each Brunswick died after World War I and II, and after the Jewish went to slaughter the members of the German party, we lost many family members, and a lot of the money was left to us. Of course, that war was in 1940. It is 2020, and there's still German Christians who had nothing involved with Auschwitz, as we came into the country in the 1500s. We have nothing to do with the actual German slaughters. We're German Americans, and we work together with Jews who handled our finance. It's very important to know Bischofschwein, Sai, Seligman, Rothschwein, Schwarzkowski, and several others were linked to Rothschwein, linked to Rothschilds in a way, but because it was royal money. But as Rothschild handled Philip's money, Philip was also had some German blood. It is not the bloodline of King George, in specifically the Brunswick-Lüneburg line, which is ours, which made them separate financiers, but still related in investment, starting railroads and starting fashion, Sephora, a lot of Las Vegas, boy gaming. Are involved in these accounts, confused to Bernard Arnault of France, who has never lived in America or never handled. These were Jewish and Christian. Seligmans were Christian and mixed, as the other families were too. The Sai account is the Charles family's account. It has always been our account. Investments have been made by very many very good bankers, and up until recent, when Boyd Gaming and Sephora has tried to go into this illegally. So Sephora in debt to us $20 million right now, not paying it. A very well-known crime in Seattle. I have a big problem. I am trying to get to my trust. I've been closed out. They put death certificates in on me 7 years ago. They have stolen my tax returns when I put them in the mailbox. The Seattle Police Department, the Peterson Farms. We're linked to Holly Farms on the East Coast. We're linked to several old meat packing companies and the largest food distributor contracts in the United States of America, and some of the largest international in the world, that are being stolen right now by what is called Blanken. And Blanken has worked for the United States government, is linked to Sweden. What they have done, the Blankens have tried to find food distributors to take the people who have been using the money illegally, the profits, and encircling them, and try to, they've gone on international trips and left the country and left their businesses. Now the Blankens are bringing in people from different parts of the world to try to take over United States businesses. Blankens are very illegal. Blankens are very dangerous. And they use people from all over the country, and they do switch IDs. This food distribution is not Charlie's Produce. That is not the right Charles. There's also an account called Horse Racing, and this horse racing account was linked to King Charles, who was the king of horse racing. This was the Newcastle racetrack, is where he hung out, in Ascot, where they first started racing in Britain. This is part of our family bloodline, and this was passed down to the Americas as horse racing became popular, and the links of King George's children to the greatest racehorses. Eclipse was bred by our family, and the Eclipse Award is the most coveted award in horse racing in the United States of America. Our family has been shunned because of the redistribution of this money, and we would like respect, and we would like the courtesy for helping put up twin spires in Churchill Downs, as the Spires account was a German account from a royal family, graced to us through Queen Anne, King George, and Godolphin, John and Bell Farms as well. This is not a gaming account. This is not a joke. This account should not be touched. It was for a breeding farm. Unfortunately, what they've done to gamble, many people have torn it apart. The different species of horse and animal to be raised, specifically the fund for the blacksmiths, the funds for the veterinarians, the funds for the properties, all very specific and separated, broken into. This all has to be held together. It is not a gambling fund, and whoever is trying to gamble with this money is a criminal. The gaming funds were based on the Stitz. Those are our family's accounts. They're very old accounts. They shouldn't be touched by Seattle Police, by Russell Finance, Tiger Finance, or Seneca Finance out of Seattle with the Davis family, Mike Davies and Chris Flume and Chris Jones, and members of the Army Corps of Engineers who are linked to the Coast Guard. or any servicemen in this country. It is our account. These are our accounts, they're our savings accounts. And when you have a savings account, what you try to do is maintain it for future generations. I am in need of a knee surgery. We have hospital funds, we have pharmaceutical funds. People like Angela Hamilton, Dion English, the list goes on. Jamie Okita, these Dave Wyman in our lumber, Chi Wyman, the Benkies with the FBI, highly illegal. The Stankies, highly illegal. The Remajans, highly illegal. The list goes on and on. But these medical funds, I've been in need of surgery for 8 months and I'm being denied. Public Housing is trying to run our housing funds from Early America, and the mayor's departments are trying to run our unincorporated city funds to help build townships in Early America. These funds were set up, they're historical, they're very American, they're not German, and De Hirsch is also one of the financiers. And I believe the Rothschilds would testify in court to the honesty of my statements. This is a real trust. This is real money. It was not Temple de Hirsch's money. This is actually our dear friends who are handling finance for us and making good investments, some Jewish, some Christian, and it's irrelevant. It was in the 1800s, and we were German Americans working together to try to build this country. And to have a Jewish temple go in and drain the entire account and saying it is a Jewish, their name is De Hirsch, it's their family's money, without any consent with the lawyers or my family to find out they were really our bankers and they weren't a family that held this money. Is just an insidious crime that cannot go on anymore. I would like my money returned by the city of Seattle. We understand the Department of Transportation has been going into the HIND fund. That is the HINDs, the Wolfskills, and the Spreckles. Spreckles Shipping of the West Coast is the one that funded Matson. This money was left to us through the German Trust, and the investments of early Hawaii. Money was property was paid for out of Spreckles and part of our trust, which links to Germania Trust of Shipping out of St. Louis, Missouri, from the barges from LaBarge, who was linked to the Holy Roman Empire, and my family, who ran the barges in early shipping of America out of the port of Mississippi. This money is linked to as I said, the Germantown in Kentucky, which is linked to the Wolfskills who traveled across America to put orange groves in California so we could have orange juice. Also, some of the greatest gold miners. And Hind, who put in Southwest Railroad. All Germans and Christian. And this is our money. And this is money being stolen by the city of Seattle. Hind is something that the Department of Transportation should have no links to whatsoever. Metro is highly, highly illegal right now. Seattle Police Force hiring people who look like models so they can go with our royal funds to go try and meet princesses. You have never seen such prima donnas as the Seattle Police robbing our accounts to try to get into our European. Thank God for this break in travel right now so we can pin them down and arrest them for their crimes. These are criminals. They're murderers. My life's been threatened 3 times today. I'm John Charles in Seattle. I'm beaten up. When I came back here, I was 40 pounds heavier. They have given me calories. They have tried to kill me. They have electrocuted me with hacking equipment to get into anything I have. I've been robbed like 15 times. I have been beaten, and Seattle police have done nothing to help me and left me on the streets, and they continue to live off our family's money. King County Police trying to take over the Spreckles properties in Hawaii, and this is happening up and down the West Coast too, as that sheet metal, those sheet metal patents and that technology is what built the first naval, one of the first naval shipyards in the United States of America in Virginia. And that sheet metal is what built those ships. We have several ships listed on our trust. That is because the United States government had to buy the metal through the patents and through the companies like Bethlehem Steel that were linked to this trust and the funding to make those companies operate. I'm John Charles. We are linked to Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes, the first drill bit for offshore drilling, for offshore oil drilling. The Drakes, that's, I believe, the second drill bit patent for offshore drilling. The second patent was redone after using German technology to improve the patent linked through the family money. The Drakes, the Hughes, and the Charles family are one. The Drakes sit underneath the Charles family in this trust because they were related to the Gilberts, which makes them stepbrothers to our family. And as my Uncle Ralph said, we are now Hughes and we are now Drakes when he went to Vegas. Go ahead and look at the pictures of Howard Hughes. Tell me if you don't think he looks like two different people. It doesn't matter. If he was there, Ralph was on the run. The United States government and CIA would not let us have our money because of the Reich, World War I and World War II, in fear that we would leave the country and move this money out. Very simple. The Prussians knew a lot about this money because of the Holy Roman Empire, which led to several Russians going into these accounts across the country. This opened up access to the account wealth for the NBA, the opening of the NBA, NBA still claims they own this account. There are 3 of them. They're $400 billion apiece. They're under the Charles Trust. They are under the Charles Trust. The NBA needs to put back the money they have stolen. The Rothschild is very involved in baseball. Uberhoff of baseball, the commissioner of baseball, is very linked to finance, lawyers, to our trust. Uber is money taken from the Charles Trust. Uberhoff may be underneath my family, but he would be a lawyer for my family, and as well as Minard representing money for the LA Dodgers right now. Steve Ballmer with money at the LA Clippers. Dave Bennett with the Oklahoma Thunder. The illegal moves by Howard Schultz are pathetic, and the illegal moves by Larry Schwartz into the Diageo liquor and Glazer beverage into the Diageo liquor. Insidious crimes. Insidious crimes. I'm John Charles in Seattle. You already stood trial. You're guilty. What I'm telling you is the American truth. I am telling you the truth of America. The slaughter of German Christians has to stop now. And it's time for us to be friends with the American German Jews that helped build this country. And this World War II stuff has to quit interfering with American finance. This is not Israel's money. This is not Israel's money. 888 Holdings tried to go into our old British gaming funds, and Avi Shaked has taken this money into Deos, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem for gambling casinos. It is very illegal. This gaming money belongs from Britain to America. That's it. Germany, that's where it started. And we also have accounts out of Australia and New Zealand, and possibly some in South Africa. But this is not Israeli money. I'm John Charles.